I'm going to share with you all the tips and tricks that I've learned from building and using an eGPU with my Ally X over the past several months now. Because obviously ASUS are going to be releasing the XG Mobile, but the prices are pretty high, so some of you might be looking at using, let's say, the ADT Link UT3G, which is what I've used, alongside a full-size desktop graphics card and building your own eGPU essentially for your Ally X or any USB 4 device. And there's some things you certainly will run into, and we are going to make sure it goes through smoothly. And yes, I am going to pull a lot of this from a previous video I did, which was a long video where I did all these tips and tricks in the middle and it kind of got lost, and I feel like this would benefit a lot of people. So you might see me change my t-shirt, and really it's just me putting it on really quickly. But to start with, if you are using the ADT Link UT3G, please go to the actual website and look at the installation instructions, because they go through just there exactly how to do this, like which switches to turn on and off as you plug your GPU in and boot it up for the first time. Just follow that. That's exactly what I did first, and then potentially run into some issues, which we'll go over now. Oh, and disclaimer, I am using Nvidia GPU, right? If you're using AMD, then you're gonna have to sideload 780M drivers from AMD, because the Z1 Extreme drivers from ASUS will clash with your AMD graphics card. So make sure you install your GPU driver in safe mode. I actually had some issues when I didn't do this, so doing it this way was better. And also when installing new drivers, use DDU or display driver uninstaller in safe mode first, and then return to safe mode and install your latest driver. Now, initially I said that I wasn't using the Nvidia app, and this was actually before it got updated, because when I was using the old Nvidia app, I found using the automatic driver installation used to actually cause issues there. But with the new Nvidia app, I've actually been using that with no problems. I've not been going into safe mode, using DDU to uninstall drivers and then installing new drivers in safe mode. I've not done any of that, so it's up to you. Try it without first, so just try downloading the drivers without safe mode. If that works for you, wicked. If it doesn't work from you, go back and go through the method I said of going into safe mode and using display driver uninstaller. But since those old problems I was having, I've not been having those problems with the latest Nvidia drivers. I've just been using the Nvidia app and then downloading them, and they've all been working. So if you go to device manager and then go to display adapters and you see it's there, but you click on the properties and it says error 43, well, then you've got a problem. So what you need to do is go down in the description and find the link for the Nvidia error 43 fixer. Now run this if you get the error code 43 when installing new drivers, or the first time you set up your eGPU. Now I did run into this issue, but as soon as you run the driver fixer, it just works. Like, it refreshes and then ba-ding, and then the only reason you need to run this again is if you reinstall the graphics driver. So I've got this saved on my Ally, just so that whenever I change drivers, I run the fixer and then it works. Now the next thing is to go into display properties and only show on screen 2, because you don't want to be sending data back from the eGPU through the USB cable back to the Ally X, because you will lose performance. Because obviously you're outputting data from the Ally to the GPU, which you then should be sending from your HDMI to your screen. But instead, if you leave that screen still on, then you're going to be sending data to the eGPU through the USB cable, back through the USB cable to the Ally X, and then potentially also to another display. That is going to eat into your performance. So just don't do that. Just don't. This follows into disable your iGPU. So this is the integrated GPU part of the Z1 Extreme APU. So you can do this by going into Device Manager, going to Display Adapters, and then you will see the AMD display adapter, and then just turn this off. And then if you want to go handheld again and then play again, just re-enable it. But you do want to disable this, because some games it will introduce stuttering and other stuff like that. I have played a fair few games without any issues, but I've just got mine set to disable every time I plug it in, but you will have to do this manually each time. Now head over to Armoury Crate, set your VRAM to auto to give it 23.6 gigabytes of RAM to system, since our GPU has its own dedicated 12 gigabytes and we disabled the iGPU, so we don't need to split the RAM here. We want to give as much to system as possible. Now next up, I've created a custom power profile to get the most out of the APU. So I've just maxed out all the sliders, I've called it eGPU, and I've set my games so that once it's plugged in and docked, it just automatically goes to the eGPU setting. And I've also put some more of aggressive fan curves here, just because, you know, I'm basically fully loading that APU. And on that point, turn off CPU boost. Now, this can actually cause crashing in some games, and it also makes the CPU sustain really high temperatures. So I found it's best off, and I was monitoring this. So I left CPU boost on and I was monitoring it, and yeah, it was just like maxed out. CPU boost was just like full pelt on. The temps were really high, and yeah, some games just weren't liking that. Next up, head over to the Nvidia control panel and go to power management settings and set to prefer maximum performance. And this just ensures that the GPU is just getting maximum performance. It's just like fully loaded, which you want it to be because you're going to be playing games on it. And finally, this is optional and game dependent, but disable resizable bar, also known as rebar, with Nvidia Profiler Inspector if you experience micro stuttering in a specific game. For those of you planning on using the ADT UT3G, make sure GPU-Z displays your bus interface as running 4.0 times 4. If all goes to plan, CUDA-Z should show your speeds on the top around 3,600 megabytes per second, and that converts to around 3,800 megabytes per second. And this just ensures that your UT3G is running at like maximum performance, right? Because this is the only way to get PCIe times 4. So if these numbers are wrong or it's not showing that, then there's probably something wrong, and maybe start again, you know, uninstall your drivers and go again. Now, another tip that I would suggest that you do, just because that's what I've been using myself, right, is to use DLSS Swapper. It's a free download. You just download it off their website or whatever, and it lets you swap out stuff. So specifically, I think this helps eGPU users. Like I was playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and that doesn't have DLSS 4 in it yet at the time of this video, right? But DLSS 3 is fine, but I knew I could get a bit of extra performance because we're losing some performance, right, by using an eGPU setup. That's just the nature of the game. So getting extra performance is a win, right? So I use DLSS Swapper to inject DLSS 4 into Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and I did see an improvement to the game quality and the FPS as well. So I'd highly recommend you do that. You just download it, you select the game, and it will show you what DLSS version you're at, and it will tell you the driver number, I believe. You click on that, and then go to the one at the very top, and there'll be a little download symbol, and you just download it from the DLSS Swapper website. You don't have to do anything. It applies it to the game, and then you can just go about your business, boot up the game, and it will just work. However, if you do uninstall DLSS Swapper, it will take that DLSS with it, which means it will no longer be in your game. So you kind of need that just installed in the background. It doesn't need to be running though. And there you have it. That's my tips and tricks to get your eGPU running smoothly. Everything I've encountered that's been a problem, and some new stuff there as well. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Will you be getting an XG Mobile and spending some serious dough, or you going this route and building it yourself? Or have you already built it yourself? I'd love to know what your setups are down in the comments. And of course, we've got all my old videos about the eGPU build, what I've done, what I've used, and there's a whole series there. There's a whole playlist on the channel. And me and AJ are going to be doing a discussion soon of the dark side of eGPUs, and it might sway you as to whether or not you want to build one or not. But anyway, let me know your thoughts. Make sure you like this video, subscribe, become a member, and don't forget to check out our podcast here on this channel and AJ's news videos that are on this channel as well. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.